because I think it's always been women who've been leading the resistance almost throughout history, but we've seen it so very strongly in the last couple of years.
There's a real feeling of unity and a feeling that this can go somewhere, in a sense of unity and stronger organisation too. With a lot of Women's Day gatherings, it's about coming there as who you are and then leaving and just continuing as who you are. But here there really is the potential of being able to come together, accepting obviously the differences that many women's identities have, but being able to come together in strength.
I'm here also as well, so I don't identify as a woman. I'm a non-binary person, but I stand here with my sisters. I can see the stories of all the women here, and I feel very empowered. I see my mom, I see how she had to fight as well. She was in a vulnerable state, and everyone can be in that vulnerable state. It's like reminding yourself that you can be there too, so you have to stand in solidarity with the people that are suffering now.
Being a woman in this society and being able to vote hasn't improved the experience of women in the UK or across the world. Sexual harassment is still happening, structural violence, whether it's getting housing or jobs or equal wage. The traits that we associate with femininity are still seen as inferior and are still not getting the support that we need. And yeah, I think it's beautiful that this is happening and that striking is a direct action rather than just patting myself on the back for having the right, these chromosomes that therefore define me as being female, or as if that's enough, but it isn't to me. And striking action, that's what matters. Working together for something, that's what matters to me, you know.
If you think of May '68, where it was all men on the barricades but women on the streets with them, when the men faded away, it was the women who were still there on the streets. And that, of course, was the beginning of women's liberation, when we were demanding everything. Change at home, change in the workplace, the end of sexism, the end of racism, linking it to anti-imperial struggles. And by the way, another thing happening today is the Yarlswood hunger strike, those women who are being kept indefinitely in detention as asylum seekers.
We're here because no human is illegal. We're here in solidarity with them. 120 women inside Yarlswood are in a hunger strike. Claudia and I today, we are fasting in solidarity with them. One of them has actually been deported since the strike began. So we're here to say that enough is enough and that we stand with our sisters.
The reason why I joined this campaign today is because as a migrant woman, when I came to the UK, I experienced a lot of the discrimination. It took me ages to get my visa. I was almost deported 3 times. 2 EU nationals tipped me off with the Home Office when I was working 90 hours a week. And I had to work 90 hours a week, not because I wanted, it's because I was being paid 2.80 an hour and I wasn't allowed to be given a proper salary as other people that have and come from other countries are being given to. As a woman, I had to work double to get the money that I needed to support my family. Also, to get for my visa, for example, I wasn't allowed to get a bank account because my nationality is a threat, because people see me as a Latin American, as a Bolivian, a black and minority ethnic group women. They don't give us, and they don't give us the right that other people have. So I almost became undocumented myself, and this is why I became a feminist. I think I've been a feminist since very little, but this is why it's so important to fight for our rights, so then we get exactly the same right as a man has.
The women's strike has influenced the way I put, labouring as a woman in a more of a practical realization of it. I mean, I've always known it in theory and in the abstract, but I've been realizing it more and more, just how much women put in labour that men take credit for, actually.
One of the points of the women's strike is to make sure that the effective labour that the majority of women across the world participate in, and the emotional labour that is sometimes considered to just be an kind of intuitive or intrinsic part of what it means to be a woman, is actually made public, and it's drawn out and brought out more, and it becomes a public discussion rather than something that's privatised in the home.
It's also trying to engage with the idea of unpaid labour as well, which is obviously particularly challenging because you can't refuse it. As somebody who is pregnant, I know that that's the case. It's very, very difficult to strike in the current circumstances, but also people depend on caring labour. Lives depend on it. You can't just refuse it. So to some extent, today is about imagining how things could be different. How can we redistribute that work? How can we revalue that work? And what elements of it might we be able to refuse because it's actually at the service of capital rather than communities? And that's kind of the provocation that the Women's Strike is trying to offer today.
I think it's really important as a person who's worked for years and years as a self-employed person, but now as a mother, a lot of the time I feel highly unappreciated by society. I can't always strike. I have 4 kids, so I managed to palm off 3 of them to my husband for the day, but you know, you can't strike as a woman a lot of the time actually. We're very integral to how things work, and so, you know, I can't leave this one at home. So.
Just refusing to do any kind of work and enjoying yourself, just having a day for yourself, cheering for your rights, you need a break as well, to be honest.
Safety first! Decriminalize sex work! Safety first! Decriminalize sex work!
We're here to stand in support and solidarity with all the people here fighting for decriminalisation of sex work. Decriminalisation is the most important thing in terms of fighting for the rights of sex workers worldwide. It's the only thing that will protect people's safety who are working in sex work. I think it's important to remember that International Women's Day started out as International Working Women's Day. It was started as a way of fighting for working women's rights, poor working conditions, adequate wages. Those are all things that decriminalisation of sex work would help to improve. So I think in terms of thinking about International Women's Day, which has turned into a bit of a so-called feminist Christmas for white middle class women. The feminist movement worldwide needs to work to include the safety of trans women, of non-binary people, sex workers, of migrants, of black and brown people. So yeah, I mean, I think actions like this on International Women's Day are a really important part of that.
And finally, to Westminster Council, here's what I think about your policy.
Obviously the Women's Strike is intersecting with a bunch of really important industrial action. So we know about the UCU university worker strikes over pensions. We're also seeing action by the migrant cleaning force at the Daily Mail over pay. And we're seeing action by home carers in Birmingham over redundancies and over their working patterns.
Well, I'm directly involved because I'm a member of UCU, so I'm striking for my pension. But I think it's become much bigger than that because we've also joined with a lot of students who are involved who are campaigning against tuition fees, and also the Justice for Cleaners campaign at King's, where we're trying to bring the cleaners back in house. So it's become bigger than just the strike for pensions. I actually found out this morning, which I should have known already, but that King's has the second biggest gender pay gap in the country. So it made me really think about how this attack on pensions affects women disproportionately, and also affects people like me who've had maternity leave and for other reasons who've had breaks in their career. So I think the two things are really closely related.
So, we have to rethink absolutely from the beginning, as Helen says, how you deal with what the majority of women are doing, which is both working out in the workplace in ever longer hours of work, ever lower wages, ever more precarious conditions, at the same time as still shouldering the burdens of care work, which are getting, of course, more and more difficult as the welfare state is rolled back, as communities collapse. So, we have to begin from the bottom up again, as we tried in the 70s, to rethink everything. That's why I'm striking today.
This is a continual struggle. It's not just about today, it's about what we do from today, the connections that we've made, the power that we've found with ourselves and with the communities we've built.
And that we have power, just because we're here, women have power, and it's reminding women that they have all the power.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Hasta la victoria siempre.
Hasta la victoria siempre.
Hasta la victoria siempre.